But it definitely gives you a feel. And there's so many videos on it. Different Laurel Canyon stuff and the Doors and Joni Mitchell and the Eagles and all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to pick one where it kind of puts you like right into the thick of things.
I definitely did that. I mean, not a fan of the hippie movement, not a fan of the whole leftist movement, but if I lived there back then, well, I'd be hanging out at those parties all day. Sounds like a good time.
Now, do you think? Yes, they were on the left, but do you think that it was more about the music and about the drugs than it was about the politics, even though they gave their opinion in their art?
I think it was mostly about the drugs, with music as a close second, and then politics just something, maybe one or two of the artists started doing political stuff.
Yeah.
And then everybody else sort of aped them. Like, oh gosh, that sounds good. I want to do that too. And then everybody kind of piled on.
Because there was a lot of anti-war music that came out during this time,
which is understandable.
And sitar, what was going on? A lot of sitar stuff that was anti-war. And like I said, they gave their politics through their art. You didn't necessarily see Joni Mitchell like on Channel 7 News saying all this stuff, because really she was just doing her thing, and then obviously her art had her politics in it.
I think if they had access to media that stars have now, my gut feeling, at least some of them would have been the same as the people are now. Be online all the time, spouting their opinions. They just didn't have access to it. Plus, they were too busy having giant parties and getting laid and doing drugs.
I mean, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm not posting on Twitter. I'm banging Tanya Tucker. I ain't got time for that.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up this.
I wonder, while you're pulling it up, it's interesting to think, like, this is kind of like a music thing, this community. Like you were saying, it's not really an equivalent in film.
Not really.
I don't know if there's one in art, like, painting. I don't think so. It's just like, and I think it's because deep down, musicians, and I'm not saying this because I'm a musician. I'm not cool. I'm too old, but they're the coolest out of all art, movie producers.
Yeah,
actors.
People want to hang out with the rock star.
Rock stars are the coolest. Yeah, so they're
So kind of just super warping us through from the 60s and early 70s to the 80s, which was hair metal and experimental. There's a lot of experimental type of sounds and music. And then the 90s was going into like grunge and some of this pop rock stuff that started happening up in the late 90s. Mm-hmm. And in the middle there was a lot of dance stuff. We watched a video the other day where it had a lot of weird dance stuff in 1997. It was weird. Dave was so pissed at it. It's like, because there was a transition happening between the type of music that was popular.
Mm-hmm. But that happens. There's the new generation comes along. They're tired of their dad's music, so they come up with their own scene. And then they get older and that dies out. And the new gen, it's a never-ending cycle, at least used to be. Now, I don't think music's changed that much for the past decade or so.
It's in my opinion, a lot of it's garbage.
Shitty hip hop and
mainstream stuff is garbage.
Yeah.
All sounds the same. It's there's no passion into it. It's just like, how much money can I make?
Period. There's no artistry in it anymore.
No, it's just how much money I make. If there's not money in there for me, then fuck you. I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's lazy.
I think it's lazy. I think it's money driven, and that's it. So
that's an interesting point Scorpio brings up. He said music is more of a team sport than the other arts. Like when you directing a movie, you're like the dictator pretty much in the end, right?
Basically. Yeah, I'm the one that creatively put everything together. I'm the one that chose the locations. I'm the one that chose the art department. I'm the one that chose the wardrobes. I did all of it so that when it's time to hire people, they play in my sandbox, basically. Mm-hmm. So with music, is I can just make them riff, and then somebody can come in and participate during that riff.
Yeah, it's more of a, like Scorpio says, it's a good point. It is when you write a song, create it, it's like a more of a collaborative effort throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
Which maybe lends to what we just watched, where all the musicians were kind of hanging out together all the time.
True.
Maybe copping riffs from each other, getting ideas. I'm sure there was some jealousy, some envy involved.
Everybody's sleeping with each other, and
the
whole thing.
Wow, that sounds great.
So 2000s, there was still pop rock stuff, early 2000s. And then where do you think that things changed? Like, what point do you think everything started getting political as far as online, and the artistry of it was gone? Because early 2000s, and then even the early 2010s, I thought there was still artistry. I thought there was still good stuff out there.
I think it was the rise of social media. I know it's an easy answer, but it gave all these people an easy outlet to voice what sometimes I question is their genuine opinion, but to extend their brand, which is what I think all of these political yappers, these stars, they're just extending their brand to their fan base. Try to, I'm like you. I get it. Fight the power and all that shit.
But is that going to attract more new people, or is it just talking heads of the same people that are going to support them anyway? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think, it's like an echo chamber. I guess for some reason, people want the artists that they support to think the same way as they do, which to me is bizarre.
It is bizarre.
Like, I'm always like, even like whether it's, movies, music, comics, take comics. If the book's good and the art's good and the story's good, I really don't give a fuck who wrote it. I'm not their pal. I just bought their product. That's the end of it.
Yeah, it's the product. It's the art. It's the entertainment value that you're seeking. You're not seeking what fucking EVS thinks or whoever, what they think politically. You only care about what the contents of the story is, and does it entertain, or can you look into it and say, hey, can I relate to it in some way? That's how people figure it out,
As somewhat of a right-leaning person, imagine the music I would have missed out on if I didn't listen to bands that didn't agree with me politically. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's stupid.
Absolutely. And
I'm not hanging out with the guy. I'm just listening to his music. That's all I care about.
But back then, when they were saying all the anti-war stuff and all the political stuff back then in the 60s, they were still listening to people's perspective.
I think there was more decorum back then. And I think that was a product of their upbringing, because they were raised by parents in the 50s.
Yeah, and not a lot of them were actually from LA. They're all transplants going to LA.
That was a place to go. That San Francisco and London back in the late 60s. That was where it was happening, so to speak.
Yeah.
So anybody who wanted to be anybody would flock there and try to glom onto somebody or get noticed. Kind of like, I guess, actors moved to LA, right? Same thing. Because that's where it's at.
Well, it used to be. It's not like that anymore. Because back then it's where, when they shot film, that's where the film processing places were. That's where Kodak was. If you wanted exclusive wardrobe that were for a certain time period, or film sets, you had to go LA, because that's the place that has that stuff. All right, you have to go where it's being created and where it's available to you. It's not like that anymore. You don't have to be in LA to make movies anymore.
So was it the chicken or the egg that's a good point. Why did Hollywood and LA become the center of everything?
Well, it used to be Chicago. Chicago used to be LA back in the day. That's why the Rat Pack was so popular, and they were in Chicago. They're based in Chicago. And they figured out that LA or California was a better place because they didn't have to worry about shutting down the scene for 4 or 5 months because of snow. So they found a place where they could go and we could roll 24/7, 365 days a year and not have to worry about it, because Southern California is 80 degrees and sunny just about every day. Right. Yeah, there's fires and there's parts where it's a little rainy here and there, but for the most part, most days are 80 degrees and sunny.
I can't believe I didn't think of that as the reason, but that makes complete practical sense.
Yes. So then that's why they started making the film processing places and the studios and the audio, the audio remixing of this of the films, and the music people started showing up to LA because they wanted to try to score somebody's movie. So like it was all relative because of California had you know, you didn't have to stop production. You could just keep going 24/7. You know what I mean? So it was more of a convenience and more out of saving money in the long run because they didn't have to shut the production down for 5 months because the snow was a foot tall. You know what I mean?
So since we're talking about the political opinions and artists and their willingness or nonstop seemingly addiction to expressing them anywhere and any place they can, where they didn't have those outlets back in the 60s, they do now.
Yeah.
And take that into account with what seemingly the death of Hollywood lately. Do you think those two things are like is cause and effect? Do you think it's that these stars are so annoying and they're jamming all their politics that people are just done with it? Or do you think it's because there's so many other outlets to get content from?
I think it's both, honestly. I think both things can be true. And then people don't appreciate stuff. Okay? Like we just watched that video where Desperado was literally written in that fucking house. As an artist, as a person that loves music, the person that likes the Eagles and loves that song, I appreciate that stuff. It makes it puts a smile on my face. Like fuck yeah, like that was a great house that created a great freaking song.
Yeah,
most people don't give a shit. Straight up, don't give a shit.
Your surroundings do have an impact on your artistry. I agree. Like I wonder if that song would have been written without that vibe and that.
So I think it is. People are busy doing other things. People are raising families. People are doing whatever. And then they're taking social media and just taking little snippets and saying, well, I agree with that little snippet because they're not taking the time to fucking actually do research.
No, everybody nowadays, most people live their lives like they're a stone skipping across a creek. I think I mentioned that before. And sometimes you got to stop and take a dive.
I can literally pull up my YouTube, like the background, the YouTube studio thing. And it shows you all the videos and stuff. And everything under 7 minutes gets about 100, maybe 200 views. Everything above 7 minutes gets, 10 or 15 views. People are not.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
The 20-minute videos, people are not paying attention to. I can literally show you that because it's 7 minutes and people are fucking out.
Well, maybe that's why people just like quick, like you said. You're probably right. They're not interested in taking more time outside of just little snippets.
Correct.
Like, okay, I now know what I think about a certain subject because I just read it.
The snippet could be completely 100% fucking wrong, yeah. And it's gospel to them. Oh, it's that such and such said it. It must be a fucking thing.
Yeah, and now it leads to people like you and I who are a little older, and once upon a time you actually had time to dive into things because you weren't being bombarded by information nonstop during the day as a young person.
Well, I say this all the time, and it's like a fucking broken record. People literally have a portable computer in their fucking pocket and don't know shit.
Yeah.
We had to go to a fucking library. I didn't have one of these until I was what, 18, 19? Because they didn't fucking exist.
Yep.